I say this all the time, if you don't have a vision for your life will live you. I'm gonna hold this, I think I need tape. Tape? Thank you. Okay, so I'll just hold it while we talk. So vision is the act or power of seeing something seen in a dream or a trance, and the power of imagination. And so when you carve out time, oh, thank you. When you carve out time, this duct tape is fancy. When you carve out time to get your schedule together, then you can start acting on the things that God is placing in your heart to do. So again, vision it's a noun. It's the act or power of seeing something seen in a dream or in a trance, and the act or power of imagination. And we can see in a lot of young people today, it's hard to have imagination when everything is done for your imagination. Cartoons, movies, social media, it's very hard to pull away and develop the imagination that God wants us to have, because my daughter said this to me, excuse me, on, I think it was Tuesday, and it was so powerful to me. One of my friends had a little capsule that she was wearing around her neck, and inside the capsule was a scroll. And the scroll was what she was believing God for. And my daughter said she had just had this vision that when God creates us, he writes a scroll. And he writes all of the things that we're going to be, our purpose and our destiny. And he writes it out, and then he puts it inside of clay. And he begins to pull the clay apart. And as he's pulling the clay apart, the scroll is being broken up into small pieces. But it's all inside of the clay. And so when we live our life, what's happening is that our destiny is unfolding day by day. The only way that we can get to the purpose that God has created us is to sit back and have that quiet time with him so that our destiny can unfold. And what happens is the world has us so busy that we don't have time to even breathe. We don't have time. Like if you're sitting down, I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes if you just sit down for a minute, you can feel guilty because your mind starts thinking all the stuff you should be doing, right? Right? So I think it was probably a couple of years ago that I was just like, I remember sitting down and thinking, I'm so tired, I just need a little break. But then as soon as I sat down, I was like, you should be washing clothes, what are you doing sitting down? And I had to keep fighting that voice to say, no, I have to have some rest because I'm not being my best self. And I could not hear what God was telling me my future was. I couldn't hear it because I was just so busy and so consumed with things. And then it's like, I don't know what it is, it's like a badge of honor with women. It's like when we're talking to one another, it's like, yeah, girl, I'm so busy. And I stopped saying that word. If someone says, I know you're so busy, I'm like, don't put that word on me. I don't want that word associated with my life. Because if I'm so busy that I can't notice or recognize that someone is hurting, if I'm so busy that I'm missing like progress even in my own life, then I can't be any good for anyone else. So I started thinking about my schedule. And I started thinking about, okay, God, this is something that I see in all women. Everyone's trying to get to their purpose and destiny, right? We all are. We're like, God, is this my purpose? Am I supposed to be doing this? Am I supposed to be doing that? Like what? And I started thinking, you know what? There's a saying that says the enemy of best is good. And I started seeing within my own life that I was doing a lot of good things, but I didn't know if they were the best things. And we can really, as women, get caught up on, oh, that was so good, I'm so glad I did that. But is that the thing that God has for you? And is it blocking the thing that he has for somebody else? And so I started stepping back, looking at my schedule, and then I had to get to what was the vision that God had for my life. And what could I imagine? What could I see in my future that he was saying for me to do? And sometimes we can get so caught up on what feels good to us that we can stay in a situation that we have outgrown and not even know it. And so Habakkuk 2:2 tells us this. The Lord said to me, write my answer plainly on tablets so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. The vision is for the future time. It describes the end and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently for it. I will surely take place. It will surely take place. It will not be delayed. And sometimes that's the other thing, is that when God begins to unfold vision in our life, we're so in a rush for it to happen that we can go ahead of God. But in his word, he tells us to write the answer plainly on tablets. If you're going to write your answer plainly on a tablet, it means that you have to have quiet time. You have to have time that you're pulled away. You have to have time where you're not on social media, you're not on your phone, you're not in front of the TV, that you're sitting quietly and you're waiting on the Lord to tell you what your next steps are. I had a situation, it was 2 Fridays ago, and I'm telling you, God he's in the details of your life, like every second. But you have to really be in tune with him to know everything he's orchestrated. So somebody was going through something. They came to my house. I was trying to get this table from Home Depot. My car is smaller. I couldn't fit it in the car. They had a car that it could fit in. And so they were going to take me to get it. And I said, oh, before we go, why don't we go to breakfast? We go to breakfast. We're sitting. There was a family of 5 before us, okay? So they got seated at a table that normally accommodates 4 people. But they had 5. And so the waitress said, I'm going to squeeze a chair in. Is that okay? Because the other 3 were children. So it's 2 parents and 3 children. They sat us at a table with 2 chairs. We were right next to the family of 5. I'm facing the door, and the person I'm with, we're almost finished eating, and I see my sister-in-law out of the corner of my eye. Because there's a pad you write on and say, you're waiting to be seated. And I jump up and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have let me back up. So the family of 5 finished. They took the 5th chair and turned it to our table. So now we had an empty chair. As soon as he turned it, with 3 minutes later, I see my sister-in-law. And I jump up and I'm like, oh my gosh, come sit with us. She ends up sitting with us and we have this amazing conversation. And I knew that God had orchestrated that entire day. And because I had a good night's sleep, I was able to, because if you're tired, you're missing things. You're missing moments with God if you're so tired and run down. So that chair being turned around at that precise moment, that was so God. So now she has breakfast with us, and then I go to pick up the table. Something was wrong with the person's seatbelt. They couldn't get the seatbelt down, so the table couldn't get in. But then 3 guys from Home Depot, and we live in a time where customer service is not great. 3 guys from Home Depot come out, fix her seatbelt. We get the table in the car, and I ended up getting the table at 25% off. It was already on sale, but I'm just saying God orchestrated the entire day. He gave me 25% off. He fixed the car seat. He allowed my sister-in-law to have breakfast with us. We had a great conversation, and God was in the details of everything. And I'm telling you, it was because I had a good night's sleep. Because if I didn't have a good night's sleep, I would have missed all of those details. And that's what God will do. So back to this. He says, see, you're his answer. You're God's answer to someone's situation. Because you were born with purpose and you were born with destiny. And some people's purpose is one person. Some people's purpose and destiny are thousands. God's no respecter of persons, whether it's one or whether it's 100,000 or 1,000,000, it's still important. So write it plainly on tabs so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. So the way that you live, you're sending a message. You're either sending a good message or a not so good message. Without even opening your mouth, people are watching how you live, okay? And then the vision is for the future, and that's what we're gonna deal with today. It describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. If you go to like a lot of workshops on, your destiny and purpose, they will tell you to write your obituary. When you write your obituary, then you're living for your end and not for your today. And so that's all this scripture is saying. It describes the end and it will be fulfilled. So whatever God has placed inside of you, you will do it as long as you're focused. Amen? And that's what we're going to deal with today. We're going to deal with focusing on what our vision is. So the first thing that we're going to do is in our journals, I want you to write down 10 goals. 10 goals that you see yourself completing within the next year. 10. And you're only going to have a few minutes, and then we're going to do another part 2 of this exercise. So 10 goals. I wish I had Jeopardy music. Do we have any Jeopardy music?
That's what I was going to say, but December?
No, so 1 year. So it would be July 2020. 10 goals, July 2020. So this is a little book. It has about 60 pages in it. And I just want to encourage you. You can get a little notebook like this from like CVS or Staples for like $1, a little spiral bound. So there's a person, Brian Tracy, he's a life coach. And what he says is that every day for 30 days, so I want you guys to start this tomorrow, okay? Every day for 30 days. So either keep this like right next to your bed or my favorite place, the bathroom, because you have to go to the bathroom every morning when you wake up. And you write down your top 10 life goals. So if you think about the end of your life, what do you want to be said about you? What do you want to be known for? Okay? You're going to write 10 things down every single day, but you can't look back at the previous page. So every day, you're going to write those 10 things down. You cannot look back at your previous page. What will happen is that what you really want in life will begin to show around day 10 to 15. Okay? You can't look back. That's very important. For 30 days. If you feel really inspired, I filled my notebook up. I did 62 days. Because I wanted to make sure that it was really ingrained in me. Because I started seeing in my life that I could be a little all over the place. Because I like to do a lot of things, and I was starting to see that I was doing a lot of good things, but they weren't the best things that God had for me. So, and if you miss a day, because that's the other thing about women, is that it's all or nothing, and then it's nothing. So if you miss a day, it's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up. I have days in here that I missed, but I just got right back up and let me see, for the most part. Yeah, so I have like 7:31, then I didn't do it again until 8:02, so I did 8:01. I think once you start and you get on a good swing, you'll be committed to it. And then once you get that rhythm of knowing those 10 things, like, oh, I got this, then your commitment it will be on fire. And I decree that over everybody in this room. I decree that we're going to be women that are fired up. We know what our purpose is, and we're going to walk in it, and we're going to do everything that God has called us to do. And we're also going to be each other's cheerleaders, because we don't get that enough as women. And one thing that I really enjoyed about our last time together is that there was a spirit of transparency and love in the room. And it was so beautiful. I remember leaving here thinking, God, you wanted this to happen. So you're gonna do that for 30 days. And again, if you wanna keep going, because if you go, like when I can rattle this off like top of my head. And anything that I'm asked to do, I always go back to this. I'm like, that doesn't really line up. So, and here's a prime example. I think for years I've been saying to Pastor Matt, yeah, I'm gonna have a consignment shop. That's how I'm gonna sell off all my old stuff. And that old stuff was just piling up. And I kept saying, that's for my consignment shop. And he was just like, when are you doing a consignment shop? Like, you don't have time for that. And I was just like, yes, I do. And it was during the Atmosphere Conference. And God had been dealing with me on it. In the Atmosphere Conference, Prophet Danzo started decreeing and declaring. And he was decreeing and declaring double, decreeing and declaring generational curses be broken. And as he was doing that, I just knew I had to let stuff go because it didn't line up with the 10 goals that God had for me to do before I leave this earth. And I'm telling you, for the last 2 weeks, and this is like a transparent moment, it's been extremely difficult to get rid of stuff. I mean, I had 2 breakdowns. I had in my notebook, and I'll read it to you. It was very clear during the Atmosphere Conference of the things that I needed to do. And I knew, because I'm a person, I like things. And so I was just like, I'm holding on to this for this. I'm going to do this with that. And so when God was telling me to let it go, I said, okay, God, like, I need a plan. And this is the plan he gave me. He said, pray, photograph the areas for clean out, pray, commit your plans to God for success. When feeling overwhelmed, go to another room and remember why, and then focus. And so I'm telling you, if I didn't have this written down, because I literally had to go outside at least 2 to 3 times a day and just, I can do this. I can do this, God. I can let this go. And what started to happen, because as Prophet Danzo was decreeing and declaring breaking generational curses, the following week, I was on the phone with my mom, and she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I've just been cleaning out. I was like, since Pastor Matt and Maddie are away, I decided that I wasn't going to use that time to run all over town. Sometimes we get free time, right? And God is telling us to do something, and we're busy doing everything else. But I knew that I was supposed to, that was an ordained time for me to clean out. And so my mom said, I said, yeah, I've been cleaning stuff out because during the Atmosphere Conference, I heard a word from God. And she said, did you commit that to your husband? And I said, no, because I just need him to see it. I just need him to come home and be like, whoa. I didn't want to be a person that was talking anymore about it, because I was a talker. I'll get to that one. Yeah, so I'll get to that. I'm busy. I got stuff going on. I can't do that. I mean, I got this, I got that, I got da. How am I gonna clean that up? And I just said, zip. And if the blessings of God are going to overtake me, I have to be obedient. And so my mother then said to me, she said, wow, I'm doing the same thing. And she said, as a matter of fact, Raimi, who's my younger sister, she said, she's doing the same thing. So God started to show me that generational curses were being broken at the root. So when you're obedient, then you can achieve everything that God has for you. But you've gotta be in that quiet place to really hear him. So doing this, I'm telling you, is a life changer. Because once you understand what your top 10 goals are in life, and you line everything up with it, you will be a woman of purpose, a woman of destiny. But this part takes time. Because then everything, you will be like, does that go with that? Oh no, that. So having a consignment shop did not go with anything in there. Not one thing. So who wants to kind of put out in the atmosphere one of their top 10 goals? Okay, we'll go here first. You want to say your name so we know how to pray for you. Oh.
Hi, my name is Vicky. They're pretty simple. They're not...
If you just give us one, just one.
Oh, the first one is complete opiate school.
Complete what?
Opiate school.
I can't hear
Nursing.
you. Nursing school, okay, complete nursing school. And you're in nursing school now?
Not at the moment. I was this year.
Okay.
But then I was moving to Wood, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And so you're kind of on hold until you pass something and go back?
Yeah, so I go back in January.
Okay. All right, so there's a person in here, Tatiana. I'm gonna let you guys get together at the end, right? Stand up, Tatiana. I know you don't like this, but. She was in nursing school, she just completed, and she just passed her license. Okay? So you get with her at the end, and then I know that God's gonna help you do that. So you have a plan. It's right now you're studying until you go back? No?
No.
Okay.
My aunt.
Okay. So how many people are familiar with SMART goals? Okay. So SMART goals, you have to be specific, measurable, attainable. Some people say achievable or attainable. Realistic, time sensitive, time bound. So for example, like me with a consignment shop, right? It was good for maybe 15 years ago, but it doesn't work for today. So your goal has to be specific. You want to get back into nursing school, measurable. So what are you doing to get back? Attainable or achievable, which it is. You can do it. You have, how many people have completed nursing school in here? Look at all these people. Yeah. So you have people here that can help you, right? Because our first thing is that it's okay to ask for help, right? It's okay to ask. Realistic, it's a realistic goal. And now it's time sensitive because you want to be back in school before the end of the year. So now you have to get moving, okay? Anyone else?
I just finished my dissertation, and I received my paper this past Monday. And I want to begin working on a consulting business. I'm a baby boomer, and baby boomers in our time have a lot of knowledge, but they also have a lot of fears. So I work on, I would like to have a consulting business, not only for healthcare organizations I've worked in for 47 years, but one that, I'm a lot older than I look. I'm way older than you. So that's my top goal.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. And you have a great plan. And this is what I'm really want people to see is that with your goal.
I am so excited. I'm sorry.
Oh.
It was 10 years. It was 10 years.
10 years.
And every time you would speak, when we moved here from Ohio, we still had our Ohio, living in Ohio, and we would come here and listen. I didn't even know who you were. My husband said, this church, we're going to come here. Oh my Lord, have mercy. I'm so grateful because it was the words you spoke. 10 years. I didn't even want to get up. I didn't even, it was possible.
Wow.
But I was determined as like I said, I can't do it, you have to do it. But your words, your encouragement, your struggle, thank God for your struggle. I'm sorry you went through it, but I'm glad you went through it.
Amen. Amen. So that's like a river's coming out of me right now, and it's rolling to all of us and telling us we can make it.
Yeah.
So whatever our goals are, and even baby boomers that need to step over fear, we're stepping over fear right now. I want everybody to stand up and step over fear. Okay? To stand up, we're just gonna, whatever you're fearing right now, you're just gonna step over it. We're stepping over fear. Fear cannot have us. It cannot take us out. We're stepping over fear. Hallelujah. So, those are two great examples, very different. One example is someone who's in the midst of the struggle, and one example is someone who's overcome, has graduated, and now is moving forward in their vision and their journey. So I want to show you, we talked about SMART goals. Did everybody write that down?
Yes.
So they're specific. So every goal that you wrote down, if you wrote down buying a house, you have to be specific. How are you saving money? Okay, do you need to bring your lunch in every day? Do you need to stay out of the stores? Do you need to pick up an extra job if you have extra time? So they're specific, they're measurable. So you say, okay, I want to save $500 next month, okay? How are you going to save $500? I need to put away $125 every week. How will I put away that $125 every week? Where is it coming from? What do I cut out so that I can have the $125 a week? So it's measurable, it's attainable, it's achievable, it's realistic. I want to have my own business. Okay, have you taken some classes? Have you, interned under someone who has their own business? Do you have the time? Do you have the stamina? Do you have the energy to have your own business? Those are all real things. And then time, it's time bound. It's not this, I want to save $500 for when? Like, it's not just, if you just say I want to save $500, it's just sitting out in the atmosphere. When do you want to save it for? Okay? So this next thing that I want to take you to is vision mapping. We did this here a couple of years ago, and I'm going to just go through this quickly, but we'll revisit it September, October. So vision mapping is simply understanding, these are all considered islands. So you have your island of your past, you have an island of your present time, you have an island of your future, then you have an island of no return, and then you have an island of tools. So most people do vision boards and they're only thinking about the future. So the reason that's great to do a vision board where you're just thinking about the future. However, when you're thinking about your future, you have to think about your past. What in your past do you never ever want to go back to? If you had a drug addiction, that would be something that you would probably never want to go back to, right? So maybe in your past, in your island of no return, you never want to go back to drug addiction, but in the island of your future, you want to have a home for women that are addicted to drugs, right? So then you would look at your island of tools and you would say, I know how to make it over. These are the things I did. So you're thinking about your past, you're thinking about your future, but then you're looking at your present and you're saying, how can I make these things happen in the future that I want to happen? So now it's going to change the way that you live. Okay? So island of past, island of present, island of future, your island of no return, and your island of tools. Because sometimes when we're planning for the future, we're not thinking about all the things that we have like in our toolkit. So maybe, like for me, I can only talk about me, so I like to shop. And so I'm like, I can't shop anymore because I have things for my future that I need that money. I can't be shopping, right? So what do I know from shopping? I'm an amazing bargain hunter. I know how to clip coupons. I know how to get my deductions. I know how to be nice to salespeople so they can tell me when things are coming up. These are all things that are in my toolkit, right? I know how to access people at the top. I know how to talk to people. I know how to be nice to people. So these are all things that are in my tools that will help me get to my future. When I was, my corporate background is, I was a buyer for fine jewelry. So even in my corporate background, we're using my corporate background as we launch out into other churches. Because my corporate background, I was a fine jewelry buyer for Filene's Basement. And I oversaw 13 stores, and I had to analyze every store and stay on track of what was happening in that particular area to understand what people wanted. Now, I wouldn't think I would use that in the church, right? But I had to use it when we had 3 bookstores and 3 push carts. So I had to manage the inventory for all of those. I had to make sure that we were staffed in all those locations. Same thing with churches. As we're looking at other areas, I have to understand the demographics in those areas. So everything that you have ever done in your life will point towards the future that God has for you. Nothing that you have gone through, nothing that you have done will ever be wasted in the kingdom. Never. So the thing is that you have to take the time to write down all the stuff. Like, don't just look at your resume as like, this is my resume, these are my credentials. No, look at them and say, God, what is this shaping for my future? Island of past, island of present, island of future, island of no return. What don't you want to go back to? What happens, I see this with a lot of single women, you know, I want to live holy for Jesus. In comes walking. Next thing you know, you're unholy. It slipped and fell. But when you write down, I'm not going back there, you will not go back. You won't go back because you're looking towards your future and you're like, if I go back to slick so-and-so, it's going to slow down the destiny that God has for me over here. And I'm not saying that once you start writing all this, you will be bombarded with temptation. You will have things happen to you. No one has a perfect life. Because if we lived in utopia, we wouldn't need Jesus. But the more focused you are on your destiny, the more that you become the arrow that's in God's hand to hit the target that he created you for. Amen? So this is called vision mapping. And we'll get into this because you actually create a vision board of your past. You create a vision board of your present. You create a vision board of your island of future. And what begins to happen, it's also a really good therapy technique, Because sometimes, hurts in our life, we forget what has happened in our past because we've covered it, because we don't want to deal with it. But once you start going through and subconsciously a vision board of your past, then you will remember things. So one of my friends, she remembered, because she did a subconscious vision board of her past, and she kept coming across people sitting at tables eating. And she kept putting it on her board, and she was like, why do I keep putting this on my board? And she remembered that when she was little, they hardly ever had food at home. And that when she would get to school, her teacher would always give her the extra food from lunch. And that was it just sparked something in her, and she was like, I want to make sure that kids always have food at school. And so sometimes when you're doing this, it will point you in the direction of what your future is. So we can't be afraid of it. Amen? Amen. Okay. So now, back to the goals. What we're going to do, you have your top 10 assignment. Everybody's clear on your top 10?
Yes.
You're going to write your top 10 for how many days?
30.
And if you can go beyond 30, fill up a notebook, okay?
Yes.
It'll help you. All right, so we're going to do this. We're going to take a few minutes, and we're going to write out our bucket list. Bucket list. Your bucket list, and I'm going to give you some categories. Why is this important? Once you know your top 10, I was listening to a message from someone, and they had on their goals to learn French, right? And once they started figuring out like what their top 10 life goals were, they were just like, why do I have that? I want to learn French. Because it's not like I want to teach in a French country. It's not like I have conversations with people in French. It was just like a goal that they wanted to achieve that didn't have a purpose. So they immediately took it off their list, right? But everything that you do should have a purpose and a destiny, working towards your destiny, okay?
I live in Ohio, and the Lord told me to learn Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't need to learn Chinese, I know learning Spanish. He said, that's fine, but I'm telling you to learn Chinese. We moved here sight unseen to a neighborhood. It is all Asian. We're in Quincy. Every neighbor, every store, everything is Asian. Every sign, every person I see.
Did you learn Asian? Or you're in the
Nego, I can say hi, I can recognize numbers, and I can
Working on it, yes.
We don't know.
Yeah.
What you're saying is so good. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
but
so
that's it. If God tells you to do it,
Yeah.
then you need to do it.
Yeah.
That's true. So I want you, so you have your top 10. These are all things that I do that have completely helped my life and have transformed how I live. And any of my friends will tell you, my family will tell you that I'm so about all of these things that I'm sharing with you. And I'm telling you, because I have taken the time to pull away and to do these things, it has radically changed my life. And the things that I'm believing God for have literally shown up because I'm expecting them and I'm intentionally living, okay? So your bucket list, if you write my bucket list if you write it down the side of the paper, this is why I have you guys bring a journal, because I'm like full of information. I collect information so I can give it out, okay? So my bucket list, this is going to help you write a bucket list. Your bucket list, you should try to get it to at least 250, and if you can push it to 500 items, it will bless your life, okay? So my bucket list. The M stands for meet someone. So part of your bucket list should be all the people you desire to meet. And here's a funny thing that someone shared with me, and it's like, so I have a desire to meet Oprah, right? But I meet Oprah at least once a week on YouTube because you can meet people because you're entering into their world, right? by listening to them, listening to what they have to say. So don't be like, oh my gosh, this seems impossible. No, YouTube, if it were a country, it would be the 3rd largest country. Okay, so YouTube. You want to meet someone, so you write down every single person you desire to meet. Why is your proud achievement? Whether it's taking a class, whether it's graduating from college, going on a trip by yourself, what is your proud achievement? And then this is the other thing. Maybe you want to take a class and you're like, I don't have any money. Take a class on YouTube.
Yes, yes.
Anything you want to know, YouTube. B, buy that special something. A lot of, people that I listen to, they say you should have a needy, greedy list on your bucket list. Maybe one of my... C, conquer a fear. I don't know. I was in Africa and they put a plate of like bugs on the table. We were in Zimbabwe. And everyone was, it's a delicacy over there. That wasn't a fear I was trying to conquer. K, kind act for others. Random acts of kindness. What would you do for someone? E is express yourself. Maybe someone in here has a desire to write a book, to paint, to do something artistic. T, take lessons. L, leave a legacy. Okay, this one is pretty funny. Idiotic stuff. I just call it silly stuff. Maybe, I don't know, you want to make a teddy bear. You want to go to Build-A-Bear and, do something. But anything that, I just call it silly, like go back to your little girl. Satisfy a curiosity. I feel like I'm writing upside down right now. And T, travel adventures. We see a lot of people traveling today, if you're on social media or Facebook. And sometimes if you're a person, you can start out small, just maybe driving up to New Hampshire, because sometimes we think everything has to be big and grand based on, what we see other people doing on social media. It does not have to be that. If going to New Hampshire is a travel adventure for you, then that's what it is. So you should write these things out because it helps increase your imagination. And God, when He created us, had the most amazing imagination, right? And so we want to tap into our imagination and begin to create a bucket list. And I'll share with you, I've had so many things. Let me just make sure I gave you all the categories. I'll give you my categories for my bucket list. So I have adventure, spiritual. I have different conferences I want to go to. I'm dying to go on a silent retreat. Just to sit somewhere for 3 days, no telephone, no TV, you can't talk. You're just left alone with your thoughts. And you're trying to quiet them. That just sounds so amazing to me. I have people to meet, places to go. If you don't, like one of the things that I did was I went online, and you can look at other people's bucket list, because maybe it'll inspire you to do something. But I looked at the 10 wonders of the world. Then I started looking at different states and what are their best sites. So you can do that. I have fashion, beauty, relationships. When I turned 50, I wanted to locate some of my mentors that I had lost contact with from when I was a little girl. And I'm telling you, they showed up. I did do research. I was on Facebook and Instagram looking for them, but I was able to find them. And my mentor, when I was 12 years old, she's the person who got me into fashion, and she lived across the street from me. She would let me come over, and she lived in Paris. I was just mesmerized by her. And I was able to reconnect with her at 50, and I'm telling you, it was the most amazing thing. And then my mentor, when I think I was between 16 and 18, she had a business and I would sell clothes for her. She came to the DASH conference this year, and she said to me, I mentored you, and now you're feeding me as an older woman. And that was just so amazing for me. So relationships, then I love spas, so I have all these spas that I want to go to. If you're a foodie, you can write down all kinds of restaurants you want to visit. Personal growth and development, education, arts and entertainment. This is a great story. The Lord told me to do something for someone, and I was driving to work, and he was so loud. He said, "Do it today." And I was like, oh my God. And so I went and I did the thing. And as I was driving back to the office, Kim sent me a text because one of Pastor Matt's friends wanted to purchase Hamilton tickets for us. Now the significant thing is that I had Hamilton on my bucket list, but I was specific. I wanted to see Hamilton in New York. And we got to see it right before it left New York. And I believe it's because I took the time to write my bucket list out, and things show up. So the other bucket list item that showed up is my friend Jubilee went to the Mall of America in Minnesota. So that was on my list. So she's posting pictures on Facebook. And so I was like, oh my God, that's on my bucket list. And then Vivian wrote, it's on her bucket list. So then we just went in May. Was it May? May. But here's the funny thing. I was just talking to Vivian, and Shakira was sitting next to her, and Vivian is not a shopper. But why was Mall of America on your bucket list? I still don't understand. But listen, here's the thing. Pastor Matt, before I left, he grabbed my shoulders and he was like, budget. In my head, I'm like, Mall of America. But I went to Mall of America with a non-shopper who was just going to see it as a sightseer. I stayed on budget. I got my checked off my bucket list, and I'm still married. So you write it down, and things will show up. And I'm telling you, it was amazing because I had points on my airline. I had points, so I was able to go there for free. And then I had some discounts for the hotel, and God just worked it all out. So arts and entertainment, art and creativity. And you can, when you're writing your bucket list, you can write down stuff you already did. So don't think this has to be all new stuff. If you did something, because sometimes we have stuff in our mind we want to do and we're not thinking of it as a bucket list, but put it down because you will feel good that you have checked some things off, okay? Art and creativity. I love taking different classes, so I thought about all the things that I want to do, and I wrote all those things down. Books, well for me, books that I want to write. Awards that I would like to receive. And so your list can have anything on it, but the most important thing is writing it down. So I'm going to give you some questions. Let me check my time. Okay, so this is, I would suggest if you've got some sticky pads, some sticky notepads, and you use them, because you can use them in your journal, okay? And I'm gonna give you a bunch of things to think about. And as you're thinking about them, write it on sticky pads before it becomes permanent in your journal, okay? But this list you can write in your journal, but get sticky pads to answer the questions, okay? So we've done our top 10 goals, or we'll be working on them. You'll be working on your bucket list. And now I want you to think about your personal brand. And how many people are familiar with a SWOT analysis? Okay, these are all our business people in the room. Okay, so a SWOT analysis, the S stands for your strengths. W stands for your weaknesses. And I like to say challenges, just because it sounds nicer, but O is opportunities. And T are threats. So what you do is you talk to people that you know. You can send out an email to 5 to 10 people, and you ask them to analyze you. And don't get ticked off when stuff comes back that you don't like. You can ask 3, you can ask 10, you can ask 20 if you want. It's totally up to you. Strengths, weaknesses, challenges, opportunities, threats. You think about yourself in that way. You send out an email or call some people up and ask them if they could analyze you, because it would help you. What will happen, so one of the things that happened for me that was really transformative was, you start a lot of stuff, and it doesn't always get finished.
That is so true.
And I was like, oh.
Right.
So then I had to look, and I was like, yeah, I start a lot of stuff. I did. I used to start a lot of stuff, and then I wouldn't finish it. And so I said I need to work really hard, and I just have to be aware that if I start something, I need to be able to bring it to completion. And so that was one thing. I'm trying to remember the other things, but that one just really sticks to me, because when I did my top 10, we're creative by nature, because we come from a very creative God, and we're made in His image and likeness. Every idea that pops up in your head isn't for you. Some things that pop up in your head are to be given to someone, and it's okay. I had that idea. God gave that idea to a lot of people. He's just waiting for somebody to do it. So we can have a lot of ideas just sitting in our head, but God isn't calling us to do it. He's calling somebody else to do it. And you have to be very confident in who you are and what your top 10 goals are in your life, that you can give it away to someone else and be okay with it. Every idea that pops into your head isn't always for you. So when I learned that, man, people were watching me start stuff and then I didn't finish it, I need to change that. And then I started to see that every idea that popped in my head wasn't necessarily for me to do. So I had to reel it back, and then I had to just start having different conversations with myself. So you'll do a SWOT analysis. When I started my SWOT analysis and talking to people, then I started to think about things that I like to do and what the main kind of goal in my life was. And I looked at it and I said, well, the main thing in my life is I like to make things beautiful. It doesn't, wherever I am, I'm either helping someone, I'm trying to reorganize something, I'm looking at things and I'm like, oh, if we just put that there, that would be so pretty. And I was like, okay, God, this is the main thing in my life that I like to do. So how does that go along with what you designed and created me for? So that's, when you do your SWOT analysis, it's part of who you are. It's part of your personal brand. That's what we're working on, because in order to get to time management and to do time management well, you have to really understand who you are. Because if you don't understand who you are, it's so easy to get all over the place. One of the things that you can do, there are all kinds of profiles online. I would suggest that you do the 5 love languages. I think it's the number 5 lovelanguages.com. So that you know how you like to receive love, because that's important for you to know about yourself. Then you can also do, there's all kinds of online personality profiles. I don't have a specific one. We do one at the church that we pay for. But if you go online and you say, temperament profile, personality profile, you'll be able to pull something up, and it will ask you a series of questions, and then it will give you your profile.
Is that like the disc?
Yes, a disc is one of them, yeah. Disc, D-I-S-C. Pretty sure it stands for driver, influencer, stability, and conscientious, which are the 4 categories that most people fall in.
Go online?
Huh?
Also Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs is another one, yeah. So there's a ton of them out there, but the most important thing is for you to understand who you are. Then it's important to write down 3 people you admire and why. Three of your closest friends and what they give to you. What will begin to happen is that your life is like a puzzle, and you're putting together the puzzle. So that's part of your homework assignment. And I think, I'm trying to remember when I did, this was 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I took this destiny development class. It was very intense. It was like 9 in the morning till 9 at night for it's about 5 days. And I want to give you some of these things to think about, because they were also very important in my life at the time. So when you think about culture, what does your culture speak to you? So I never really thought about my culture necessarily speaking anything to me, because I was 2nd generation American, so I felt like I was really removed from my Cape Verdean culture. We had the food. My grandmother chose not to teach my mother the language for a number of reasons. But when I stepped back to reflect on how my culture impacted my life, there were some things that started to unfold. I love being by the beach. Part of my culture is an island. My ancestors traveled over here on boats. They were fishermen and cranberry boggers. So when you start looking at your culture, it does play a part of who you are and the destiny development that God is trying to bring forth in you. Then I had to, in this particular class, we had to start thinking about what kind of people are you drawn to? All of us are drawn to certain kinds of people, right? Sometimes people say opposites attract. Sometimes you're drawn to people that are just like you. But these are all things to start thinking about, because they're going to play a part in how your destiny is unfolding and how it's developing. When you go places, where do you sit? Do you always sit right in the front? Do you always sit right in the back? Do you always sit on the side? Where do you sit? when you're in a room, like what are your eyes drawn to? So I love art, but I'm always drawn to like images that, either people are walking or it's like a unity or a togetherness. So I started looking at things like that, like what do those things speak to you? And then we had to do a lot of talking about what are we doing to prepare for our destiny. And when you start preparing for your destiny, you live differently. You're living life on purpose, and life isn't just living you. Because even when we talked about, and I'll use Pastor Glenn because we call each other twins, so I think she'll be fine. So, and I'll ask you the question, Pastor Glenn. So when you gave us your schedule, right, when you're going to work during the summer, do you feel like, does it almost become like very mechanical?
Yeah,
Autopilot, right? So that's most of us, right? We're living on autopilot. I remember when I worked downtown, I would be on the train and sometimes I could close my eyes and not remember what I had on because I was moving so fast. It was actually like a game I played with myself. I would be like, close your eyes, what do you have on? And I'd be like, oh God, what's that word today? And I'd be like, you're not being present. Like, I remember doing that. And I was like, God, I don't want to live like that. I want to feel, I want to touch, I want to be present in everything that I do. And even if I'm talking to someone and I feel like my mind's going all over the place, I'll just go, wait a second, I'm like, hold on 1 second, because my mind, I just gotta slow my mind down so that I can be present, because God wants me to hear what you have to say to me. Or if someone's trying to talk to me and there's a lot of stuff going on, I'll say, let's set up a time to talk another time so I can be fully aware of what you're saying to me. Even with those of us who have kids, kids know how to try to come and talk to you when you'll say yes, because they know you're not paying attention.
Right.
And you said yes to something, you're like, what are you doing? I didn't know you said I could do that. I didn't say that, because I wasn't present. So I believe that God wants to make us present day women. Women that understand what he's trying to say to us. We're understanding the signs, the symbols, so that we can make an impact wherever we are. And then our last thing, I want to read this to you. There is a flow to destiny. There is divine intent to make your habitation broad. The promise exists for a spacious habitation, a broad place of destiny, a field of dreams. The measuring lines of ultimate purpose and intention, the destiny lines, are to fall at your feet with the next easiest step in a charming district and one that is extremely pleasurable. The enlargement of your footsteps is part of the experience of destiny as flow and as development. The place where destiny lines have fallen are found to offer a source of inward pleasure and satisfaction. Failure is not an accident, and neither is success. The laws of faith and attraction that govern the invisible realm. And so what happens when people talk about the laws of attraction, it's like what you say and what you believe is what you attract. When you write down your top 10 goals, when you write out your bucket list, you are, and I spoke this message on Sunday because God has just given me this clear revelation that the streams that are in the Garden of Eden flow from us, because that's why his word says, out of our belly shall flow living waters. So what happens is when you begin to put the good things of God inside of you and you begin to say, this is what I'm believing my life will be, this, I'm writing it down, I'm making the vision plain, I'm waiting on it, I'm not trying to go in front of God, I'm waiting on God. But waiting, just like faith, is a verb. Faith without works is dead. So while you're waiting, you're working and you're stepping forward to those things that God has for you. So even today, I'm telling you, I felt that river flowing through here, that we needed to step over fear and really wade in the water of faith. And not just, and I talked about this on Sunday, not just ankle deep, not just knee deep, not just waist deep, but letting God overtake us. Letting him overtake us. And the way he's going to overtake us is we're women that are focused on what God has for us. So the laws of attraction are simply, they're just faith. They're just faith. You're putting all of this down. You're carving time away, and it doesn't have to be hours, because when we look at the two schedules, Capri and Pastor Gwent, we saw that, man, these schedules are really full. Strength, because his word says where we are weak, he is our strength. God, give me the strength even in my nodding to dream, to imagine. Because he knows your schedule. He knows if you're tired. He knows all of those things. But God he's the keeper of time. He can make time feel like it moves so fast, and he can make time feel like it moves so slow. And so this is what we're going to give him, all of these things. He already knows them, because all the things that are on your heart to do, he placed them there. So you're going to give it back to him. You're going to say, this is what I believe, and then he is going to help you fulfill it. Amen? Amen. The most important thing is that you have to do the work, okay? So we're going to be talking about time management in September. You'll all get an email on the date in August, but because we had to change some things around in the calendar at church, so I don't have an exact date yet. But we'll send an email out like we did for this one. But September is the time that we're really going to be talking about time management. The Lord really gave me he gave me an idea for a planner. And so I'm praying that it'll be done by September. So that anyone, if you want to purchase it, the stuff I sell, I do, anyone that works at the church or knows me, I don't make any money off this. I'm believing God for like multiplying millions. And it's not even for me, it's that I want to be able to write checks so that our kids go to college, okay? I think when you begin to live a life where you know that every step is ordained by God, you don't worry about things. God told me not to worry about, he said, don't live in currency, live in faith. Don't operate in currency. And I'm telling you, when he tells you to do something, like he told me to clear my house out during the Atmosphere Conference. He said, I'm going to bless you when you're obedient, you clear this house out, because what I'm going to give you, you have to open up the room for the rivers to flow. And all that stuff in my house, it was creating a dam. And it was holding up my blessing. But I'm telling you, the last 2 weeks I've worked really hard to let it all go so that the rivers can flow. And when a river flows, it's flowing through the city. It has nothing to do with you. Your rivers are flowing so that you can, the streams are hitting dry places wherever you are. So you're going to do this work, and I know that God's going to give you the time. He can take 5 minutes. 5 minutes, like I know the different ones talking about traveling to work. If you're traveling on the train, have your journal with you so you can make that time wise, okay? You get up to go to the bathroom, you have your devotions, warm the seat, another 5 minutes, write your top 10. I'm just telling you how I do stuff, okay? When you write your bucket list, look and pay attention to the signs that God is showing you, because once you write it, things will show up. But you have to be looking for it. They'll show up, and because you got your rest, because you're focused, because you're like, okay, they're going to be right at your door. How many people have bucket lists? Okay. Has anything shown up for you? Now name one.
I always wanted to go to a Spellers, like jazz show, and there was one that came up that I wasn't even expecting to go, and I ended up getting invited to go to, so.
It showed up. Anyone else?
Finish my MBA.
Finish your MBA. That was on your bucket list. But you had the work to do it, right?
I got to see all the women performance that I wanted to see. Salt and Pepper, Mary J. Blige, Lonely in the Middle, all of them all at one time. Like,
Amen. Yep. I had J-Lo on my thing. I got to see her the other day. I was really happy.
Going skydiving.
Skydiving. Oof. Nice.
I did the Ancestry DNA thing in 2014, and I was like, it said that I'm like 45% Ghana. And I was like, I want to go to Ghana, and I went to Ghana in 2017.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, it's real. This is not, you write it down, it's going to show up. And you went to Ghana, you went free. Yeah. Yeah. I just happen to know that. So I was like, she was working, but even though she was working, she got to go. And actually, I did this whole exercise with the staff. We carved out a whole day, and I took them through, which we're going to do, I took them through a series of questions. And I said to them, whatever you're believing God for, then you have to start preparing for it now. So I brought passport. I said, if you don't have your passport, here's the application. If you don't have your TSA or your global entry, because I said to them, I'm believing God. On my top 10, I have M&M International Ministry, okay? I wrote that down. I would just look at it every day and wrote it for 62 days, and it's just part of it, who I am. And then I went to Ghana with Pastor Matt, and while I was there, they asked me to speak. And then I spoke, and they asked me to speak again. Then we went to Uganda. I was there, they asked us to speak. I mean, so I wasn't planning on any of those things. I just said M&M International Ministry. And every time we've gone away to another country, we're asked to speak. And it's not together, we're asked to speak separately, but we're together, okay? So the things will happen. You heard the testimonies, they'll happen for you. God is no respecter of person, amen? Amen. All right, so we're gonna do something a little fun before we close, because it is almost 12. All right, let's hold up our mugs. Let's see what you got. Be you, that's cute. Ooh, Storm, okay. That's your middle name. Now see, that's part of your destiny. You are supposed to do something that is gonna shake up the earth. Storm, what does yours say? Having a friend like you makes me feel good about coming to work. And having a friend like you helps to make my day every day. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, let's see what your mug says. He heals the brokenhearted. Listen, every day I have my trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to you. I'm just adding on because that's one of my favorite scriptures. This is, I can't read this, I need my glasses. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow, reap, or store away in barns, and yet our Heavenly Father feeds them. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow. Girl, you are all worded up. In your journal, God is within her. She will not fall. Amen. What's yours? You forgot your mug, but you have your journal. Does your journal say anything, or it's just cute? Oh, it's cute. Yeah, it's birds. Oh, yeah. See, this is the other thing. The things that you're drawn to, like you just said, I love butterflies. So you're all about transformation because butterflies are transformative. So those are things that you have to pay attention to as well. Let's see who else. Rise and grind. I can. I will. Watch me. That's a good one. Journal. Let's see what yours says. These are good mugs, huh? Okay, a woman of virtue is wise yet kind, dignified, and strong. She loves God, and she shall be blessed. That's a good one. No, I didn't read that last time. Believe in yourself, or now believe in your selfie. Take selfie. Let's see what else we got. Anything over here?
No.
We need some good mugs.
I'm trying to go to
Okay, you're a butterfly, so you need a butterfly mug. No, okay, next time. It was kind of hot today. Believe in yourself, that's a good one. I have my mug that I sit with every day. Well, I have different mugs because they encourage me. Let's see what yours says. Oh, it's women, sister friends. And it's yellow. Oh, I like mugs that are different on the inside. All right. Any other ones? Any other good ones? Ooh, let's see. Look at this handle. So cute. Oh, these are my favorite kind of mugs too when you're drinking and it has something on the inside. You are my most cherished friend. Wonderful, wacky, kindred spirits. The best of friends. That is, oh wait, what's on the back? Oh my God, you got a book on here. Let's see what this says. Oh gosh. As fate allowed our paths to cross, we two kindred spirits reached out and grabbed each other, refusing to let go. Two wacky women clinging to each other as if our lives depended on. Oh, this is so nice. Who is this from? Oh, this is so nice. This is from Margaret. Stronger than any natural bond, we are sisters by choice, not by chance. We accept each other as is. You know that's a challenge for women. Accept your friends as is. No apologies, no excuses, no judgments. Let me tell you what happened to me. I posted, because I was cleaning stuff out, and I posted a portion of my hair products. And I put no judgment. And people were judging me. So I didn't even post the rest, because I was like, I can't post the rest, because they'll be like talking about me, like I can't do it. Whether we're laughing hysterically until we cry or crying buckets of tears until we laugh, you embrace all the goodness I have to offer. Oh, that's so nice. And then with a breath of kindness. Let's just breathe for a second. Because we need to be kinder to each other. That's real. With a breath of kindness, you lovingly blow the rest away. So nice. It's the way sisterhood should be. Two soulmates, two best friends, two eternal, wacky, kindred spirits. That is so beautiful. That is so nice. All right, let's see this mug. Do what you love. And love what you do. I just made that up. Do what you love and love what you do. What do you have? Because you got your MBA. Oh no, this is the National Museum of African American History. Was this on your bucket list?
Oh, yeah.
And did you go?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I got
Yeah, that's a good one. That was on my bucket list too, and I went, and I was so happy I went. Oh my God, yours has a thing at the bottom. So it's the side and the, this is so cute. When it's all, friends fill your life with joy. That is so nice. Did you buy that? Or did, okay, let's see. Oh, this says, just a girl ready to conquer the world. Okay. Michelle is quiet, but I'm telling you, she is a conqueror. I know her story and it's amazing. And one day you'll tell us. Right, and share the testimony. Yeah, when you guys hear her story, wow. She's clothed in strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. Oh, okay, do your thing. This looks like a mug you would have. You got this. You are amazing. Girls, get it done. Soul sister, unstoppable woman. Oh yeah, that's nice. What we got over here? Okay, let's see. Oh, mug of tea. Whose mug is that? This is yours? A little pint-sized thing with this big old cup. A mug of tea. Those are my initials. Yeah. You bought that for me? No. Not to spoil the ending, but everything will be okay. Oh, this is amazing. Not to spoil, that's so true. And this faith can move mountains. And for our journey, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. God has given us plans to do. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Amen. Love. And what does that say? Making things happen. Let the journey begin. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and may grace and peace be multiplied to you. What does your mug say?
I just read it. I didn't know.
Yes, we are building across Africa. That's amazing. And you know, one of the things that showed up for me is on my bucket list I had that I wanted to make an impact internationally, and how I wanted us to do missions at our church. And that God is doing that because we've been supporting a pastor in India for years. And I kept saying we need to go over there so we can photograph the work that's being done. And we're going to India in September. So keep us in.
Yeah, it's exactly what is in my mind. The projects I have to do in Africa, that's
Yeah.
my bucket.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. And I know they're going to happen. Yes. Amazing woman. That's who you are. A woman who gives of herself to bless others with joy, true to the nature that God has given her, sparkling with inner radiance and generosity, one with a spirit of faith, a heart of kindness, and a character of strength and beauty. An amazing woman. In your journal, make your mark. Yes. That's awesome. Let me go over here. I'll make my feet work. Our mugs are speaking to us.
Go ahead.
Femme, source. You,
C'est une femme.
Yes.
L'Association des femmes sœurs de l'Église baptiste de la Bible. Romans 12, verset 12, 5, their 30th anniversary. That's an association, the women's, the sisters, whatever, women's sisters.
a woman's sisterhood. Sisterhood. And that's what we're doing today. We're a sisterhood. And this is Mom Life. Mom. And it came with that whole thing on it? That's so cute. My mug says Mama and Wife. And I brought that one today because I'm missing. My family was supposed to be back today, and they won't get back until tomorrow. So I've been in my house by myself for the last 2 weeks. First couple of days it was great, but now it's tired and old and I need to go back. I haven't had a lot of sleep. But thank you guys. Who wants to stand up and recant our assignment? Candace, because you're so administrative. Give everyone the assignment so we know what we're supposed to do for next week.
For next month?
Yeah, for next month. And on your schedule, you have to have time every single week to do this, but this is time sensitive. This is a SMART goal. So there will be some people that'll do it a couple of days before because you're like, oh my God, 4 weeks have gone by so quick. Yeah.
All right, so we should be in our get a small little book, and every day for the next 30 days or more, write down our 10 life goals, and we cannot cheat by looking back. And we, for the other things, we need to ask some friends, ask some people to analyze you using the SWOT analysis. Then we need to ask ourselves, I think that was me. Write 3 people you admire and why. Write your 3 closest friends and what do they give to you. What does your culture speak to you? What type of people are you drawn to? Where do you sit when you enter a room or when you go places? What are your eyes drawn to when you enter a room? What are you doing to prepare for your destiny? And did I say use the SWOT analysis? Okay. And use Post-its to answer your questions so it's not permanent in your journal.
Yes. And there's one bucket list.
And then you write your bucket list, of course.
Very good. Yes. Before you leave, you say I'm a dreamer. I didn't read that one. That's nice. Before you leave, remember, Tatiana, please share your testimony because you already passed and you guys could pray. The anointing that's on you. And as you just completed nursing and completed your license, I believe will help. Amen? Amen. But before you leave, find somebody that you don't know, okay? Find someone you don't know and just meet them. If you feel like exchanging numbers, that's fine. Some people don't really like all of that. But just find someone you don't know, introduce yourself, so that next time we come together, you know somebody new in the room, okay? And I'm gonna pray us out. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to share something that took a lot out of me. And I work at the VA hospital, and I'm standing there waiting for my Uber, sitting on the bench. And there was a lady that, on a walker, she was about to smoke. And I said, man, you can't smoke here. She called me an a-hole. And I said, okay, but I'm telling you, you can't smoke here. And I did it as nice as I could. She said, go sit somewhere else then. I went inside and I got the police officer. I came back out, and my Uber was just coming up. And then she called me the N-word. You nigger! Loud. It took a lot out of me. It took a chunk out of me because I'm 50-something. I'm from Texas. Nobody has ever done that. And I said, what did you just call me? You heard me. I'm just asking for prayer because there's a lot of meanness in the world.
Well, as we close out, we'll definitely pray, because that was one of the things that we talked about, is just kindness, random acts of kindness. And I believe that wherever you are, you can be a person that can change the atmosphere. And when we begin to become a culture of kindness, things will change. But there are some people where it just takes a lot longer. They've been through things. So a lot of times when people are like mean to me or they're saying things about me, I take it as I probably just need to pray for them, especially if I know that I haven't done anything. But as we can see, when people are mean, it does hurt our spirit. But I love how David in the Bible, when he asked himself, why is thou cast down? Is not your hope in God? And so that's a question that I always say to myself when I find my spirit is down. I just say, God, give me more hope so that I don't stay there, because that's where the enemy would want you to stay. He would want you to stay in that place. But God says, no, your hope is in me. Your trust is in me. Your faith is in me. And, you know, we are humans and we feel those things, but we also know how to overcome those things.